Today we're starting our new unit on decimal operations, and today is the first day. So today we're going to talk about rounding. So rounding is reducing the digits in a number while trying to keep its value similar. When rounding a number, it is important to look at place value. And we talked about place value a little bit last unit. So here's a little chart for you. We have the thousands, the hundreds, the tens, the ones, and that's stuff that we've talked about a lot in elementary school. The and is the decimal point. Then this is the stuff we're starting to look at now. So that tenths, the hundredths, and the thousandths. And I like to use this little trick, so your teacher may or may not have taught this to you. I like to take a vertical line and I draw it through the decimal point. And the place right in front of the decimal point is the ones place. And then the place right behind, if I put a little zero underneath whatever digit is here, is in the tenths place. And if I put a little zero here, that is in the hundredths place. And if I put a little zero here under this digit, it would be in the thousandths place. So looking at a little example of that, if you have 3.125, if I wanted to find the place value of, say, the 2, I could draw a line down through my decimal point, and real tiny underneath, I'm going to put a 1 right in front for the ones place, and then I'm going to put zeros real tiny underneath. So the 2 is in the hundredths place. And that's just a little reminder from what we did last unit. Now, if we look down below at the next part of that page, it says, what are the steps for rounding decimals? So you underline the digit that is in the last place you're going to keep. Look at the number that is behind that digit. Now this is our rules. 4 or below, let it go. So leave the underlined digit alone. We're not going to do any rounding with that digit. 5 or above, give it a shove. So we're going to increase the underlined digit by 1 if the number behind is 5 or greater. Then we're going to cut off the remaining digits following the underlined number. So if we look at this example, to the tenths place, the 1 is in the tenths place. So we're going to look behind at the 4. Does the 4 round the 1 up? Well, 4 or below, let it go. So I don't need this anymore because the 4 and the 4 is too small. So I'm cutting off the rest. So it is just 3.1. So we're going to keep the number. Now, if we look here, if we round to the hundredths place, which the 4 is in the hundredths place, I look behind at the 5. The 5 is 5 or above, so I have to give the 4 a shove, and it becomes a 5, and then I get rid of the 5 that's behind. So I'm going to round that up. So let's do some practice with that. So if we do the first one, and we round to the tenths place, the 4 right here is in the tenths place. If I look behind, the 4 is another 4. 5 or above, give it a shove. 4 or below, let it go. Well, it's a 4, so I'm going to let it go. So I don't need any of this anymore, and my answer is just 7.4. If I look at this one here, number 2, this is money, and I'm rounding to the ones place. The ones place is right here. And if I look behind, the 6 is 5 or above, give it a shove. So I'm giving the 5 a shove, and it becomes a 6. And it would be $6, and I'm going to cut off the 68 cents. Now, you can also think of it, 68 cents is above 50 cents, and 50 cents is halfway to $1, so I'm more than halfway, so I have to round up to 6. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video right here, and I want you to try number 3, 4, 5, and 6. When you are done with those, I want you to unpause the video, and I'll walk through them with you. Okay, let's look at number 3. So number 3, we want to round to the hundredths place. If you have trouble remembering, you can do my little cheater trick. So you draw a line down through the decimal point, put a 1 under the ones place, and zeros under each digit until you get to 100. So that is the hundredths place. That means that the 9 right here is in the hundredths place. Now if I look behind, this one was a little tricky. The 9 here is 5 or above, give it a shove. So I'm going to shove the 9, but sometimes it's a little bit easier to look at this as 49 instead of just 9, or you could just look at it as just 9. Either one is fine. If I raise 9, I'm going to raise it to 10. So that's going to give me a 0, and then I have to give the 1s right here to that 4. So 4 plus 1 is 5. And then I hack off the rest. That's why sometimes it's a little bit easier to look at it as 49, because if I raise 49, I raise it to 50. And you have to keep that 0 there because I rounded to the hundredths. This one I'm rounding to the tens. This is the ones. This is the tens place right here with the 6. The 7, I'm going to look behind. The 7 is 5 or above, so I'm going to give the 6 a shove. So the 6 is going to become a 7. The 5 and the 1. Now this one's tricky because I can't just hack off that 7. I have to leave it as a 0 because it's in front of the decimal point. But I can hack off the rest of this. I don't need it. This one here, I'm rounding it to the nearest dollar. Well, here's the dollars that I have here, $67. Now I have these 73 cents. So I'm going to look behind. The 7 back here is 5 or above, so I'm going to give the 7 a shove, so it's become $68 instead of 67. And then this one here, I'm going to the thousandths place. So the thousandths place is here with the 3, and if you don't remember, you can do the little trick, draw the line through the decimal point, 1 in the ones place, do some little zeros underneath. So the 3 is in the thousandths place. I look behind, I have a 0. The 0 is 4 below, let it go. So I'm going to cut off it with the 3, and then I have 9.563 as my final answer for that one. So let's look at the next page in your notebook, where we're actually talking about rounding for different types of situations, because we're going to be working with word problems for this unit. And not every situation they're going to tell you what you need to round to. So, rounding to place value can be different for many situations. The problem will not always tell you what place value to round your answer to. So for example, which situation would you need to round to a whole number or to the ones place? So an example of this, if we put 345.26, I'm rounding to this 5 that's here, to the ones place. So think, what are some examples that I'd have to round to that place where somebody would ask me I need to go to that place value? Well, one of those could be if you were ordering a pizza. And the reason for that is, say you have 2 friends over, and each friend says total you want 6 slices. But the only pizza size that they have is 8 slices. Well, you have to round from 6 slices up to 8 slices because you can't order only 6 slices of a pizza. You can't order a pizza that's missing 2 slices. The pizza company is going to laugh at you whenever you try to order it like that. So you need to make sure that you're rounding it correctly so that everybody gets enough. And it's almost sometimes better to order more pizza than it is to order less pizza. But it depends what situation you're in. Also, another example is passing things out. And like cookies. Or papers. Think of the papers that we pass out for you in class. If there's 20 students in the class and I only have 18 papers, I don't have enough papers. I need to make sure that I round up to the next multiple. So say the next multiple would be 25. So I have some extras. I want to make sure that I have enough. The same thing with cookies. You're not going to bring 6 cookies for your 8 friends, because then you're going to have to start breaking up the cookies into pieces. It's better to bring 8 cookies for your 8 friends so you don't have to break them up. This one here, it says, which situation would you need to round to the 2 places after the decimal point, or the hundredths place? So if we do an example of that, 4, 5, 6.789, the hundredths place is right there. And examples of those would be money. That's the place value that we always cut off money to. We always cut off money to the hundredths place. Another example would be paying a bill. So that has to do with money. And then splitting a cost. And you can see that all of those have to do with money. So what we're going to do next is we're going to look down here, and all we're going to do is look to see what do we need to round it to. Now I want you to cross out here, we made a mistake. I want you to put other here, because it could be other different place values, which is why we originally put other. So let's look at the first one. In January, it snowed 33.02 centimeters. In December, it snowed 12.7 centimeters. How much more did it snow in January than in December? So think to yourself, what am I doing in this problem? I'm going to be working with centimeters. Oops. Going to be working with centimeters. And it's asking how much more did it snow. So I don't necessarily have to have it as a whole number, because these aren't whole numbers. These are decimals, and they're in centimeters, and centimeters can be expressed as a decimal. I'm not working with money, so it's not going to be money. So the only other choice is other here. I'm going to round to whatever place value they give me whenever I actually solve this problem, or whenever the numbers give me. So let's look at the second one. Trevor spent $2.50 for a slice of pizza and $1.75 for French fries. He also bought cookies for $1.25. How much money did he spend for lunch? Well, do I need to round money to a whole number? No. It's money, so I probably am going to round to money, and I'm not going to round to something else. So I'm actually doing money for this one. Let's do one more together. And I want to talk about number 4. I'm going to skip number 3. You're going to do that one on your own. Andy has 15 erasers to share with his 6 friends. If each friend gets the same amount of erasers, how many does each friend have? So, think of erasers, think of your friends. In this one, you're actually going to round to a whole number. And here's your reason. Because if I'm splitting up erasers, if I were to split these 15 erasers up into my 6 friends, each one would start getting 2 erasers. But then I'm going to have 3 erasers left over. Do I really, really, really want to start ripping those erasers into pieces and giving each of my friends a piece of an eraser? Probably not. So it's better to say I would have 2 erasers to each friend with 3 left over, and you could use them for something else. So that's why we just round it to a whole number and we don't put the decimal stuff with it. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video here, and I want you to do 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8 on your own. When you're ready, unpause the video and I will go over them. Okay, so if we do number 3, 5 friends went out to the movies. The total bill came to $56.85. If the friends split the bill, how much did each person pay? Well, that one we're dealing with money right there, so that was a dead giveaway. Number 5, I have $10 to spend at the candy store. They have Jawbreakers on sale for $1.75. How many Jawbreakers can I buy? Now this one is asking how many Jawbreakers. In this one, it was asking how much did each person pay. That right there was the money piece. But here I'm talking about how many can I buy. And you have to think to yourself, can I split up Jawbreakers? When I go to the candy store, can I split them up and will they break them into pieces so I can buy a piece of a Jawbreaker? No. In this case, I have to round it to a whole number. For number 6, a male Siberian tiger is 3.3 meters long. A female Siberian tiger is 2.6 meters long. What is the difference in these lengths? This one, it doesn't have to be a whole number. It doesn't have to be money because you're measuring. It's actually going to be other. You can have decimal measurements. Number 7, a paving stone is 4.625 centimeters thick. How thick is a stack of 67 stones? Same thing. You're measuring. Measurements can be decimals, so it's going to be other. And number 8, if a roll of paper can cover 17.3 presents and I have 3 rolls of paper, how many presents of the same size can I wrap? Now, this one I'm wrapping presents. It's not money. Now I have to decide, do I need to wrap whole presents or can I wrap parts of presents? I need to wrap whole presents. I don't think for your birthday that you only want one side of your present covered so that you can see the rest of it. You need to make sure you cover the whole present with paper. Okay, so let's look at the next page, which is page 4. So let's practice with some of these rounding skills. So Michael was ordering pizza for his friends, and he found that he needed to order 5.67 pizzas so that everyone can have a few pieces. How many pizzas should he order? Now this goes back to what we talked about on the top of this page here. Because think about pizzas. We need to round to a whole number. So here's the amount of pizzas we need to order. And we're rounding to a whole number. What would 5.67 round to in pizzas? Well, when you order pizza, you always want to order more pizza and not less. So we're going to round to the whole number. The 6 rounds the 5 up, so we're going to order 6 pizzas. Always make sure you circle your answer or box it. Number 2, Carlo was out to dinner with 3 of his friends. They decided to split the check and use their phone for help. When they divided the bill up, each person needed to pay $10.54332 for their meal. About how much money should each person pay? So we're talking about paying somebody, and we have this dollar amount here, but that's not a realistic dollar amount. So we have 10.54332, and we're rounding to money. So if you need to write money, you can go ahead. And remember, with money, we round, we can have change, but remember there's only 2 places after for change, so we're rounding to that 4. Now we're going to look behind at the 3. Does the 3 round the 4 up? 5 or above, give it a shove. 4 or below, let it go. We're just going to let it go in this case. So it becomes $10.54. Okay? What I would like for you to do is I want you to pause the video here and you are going to finish the rest of the page up to number 10. Okay, for number 3, Jana was weighing fruit at the grocery store. She bought apples, bananas, and oranges. When she weighed her fruit to see how much it would cost, it weighed 2.3632 pounds. What is this amount rounded to the nearest hundredth? So if we round it to the hundredth, the 6 is in the hundredths place. Look behind for the 3, 5 or above, give it a shove. 4 or below, let it go. In this case, I'm just going to let it go, so it becomes 2.36 pounds. And LBS stands for pounds. Number 4, Naya was making a bracelet. The amount of string that was needed to make the bracelet is 1.85 meters. What is 1.85 rounded to the nearest tenth? Well, the 8 is in the tenths place. Look behind with the 5. 5 or above, give it a shove, so the 8 gets shoved to a 9. and I'm just cutting off the 5. So 1.9 meters. Number 5, when rounded to the nearest whole number, which number will round to 842? So I'm rounding to a whole number in this case. So here's the 1 in the whole number's place. Look behind. Did the 2 round the 1 up? No, it did not, so I'm just going to let it go. Now that didn't round to 842, so that's not the answer. And with ones like this, there can be more than one. Here's the 1. The 7 doesn't, or I'm sorry, the 7 does round the 1 up, so that's 842. So this one is an answer here. This one here, the 2 and the 8 is 5 or above, so the 8 would round the 2 to a 3, so this would become 843. And if you need to, I'm going to put a note up here. This one's 841. So this one's not an answer. And with this one here, the 2, I'm going to look behind at the 6. The 6 is 5 or above, so that turns this to 843, and that one's not an answer. So in this case, there's only one answer to this one. Number 6, Lee was having a birthday party, and he got a candy treat for each of his friends. The bag of candy came with 23 pieces, and 16 of his friends were invited. That left each friend to receive 1.4375 pieces of candy. If Lee wants to be fair to his friends, how many pieces of candy should each friend get? So I'm actually going to round to a whole number in this case. The whole number is 1, and I look behind with the 4. The 4 can't round it up, but if you think, I don't have enough to go around and give all of my 16 friends another piece, so each person is only going to get 1 piece of candy. Finishing up that page, Evan's pet garter snake has grown to 3.34 inches since he bought it. What is 3.34 rounded to the nearest 10th? Well, the 10th place is that 3 right there. Look behind with the 4. The 4 is not 5 or above, so it's just 3.3 inches. Number 8, Winona went shopping for earrings. They were on sale for 4 pairs for $5.50. She decided she only wanted to buy 1 pair, so the cashier divided the price. The price per pair of earring was $1.375. How much money should Winona give the cashier? Now remember, when we round money, we have to go to the hundredths place, or 2 places after the decimal point. Look behind, that's the 7, and the 5 is 5 or above, so that becomes, instead of 37 cents, it becomes 38 cents, and it's $1.38. Number 9, the table shows last season's earned run averages, ERAs, for the 4 best pitchers in Roanoke Little League. Which pitcher's ERA is 2.6 when rounded to the nearest 10th? So I have to round these all to the nearest 10th. The 4 does not round the 3, so this is just 2.3. This one, the 4 does not round the 5, so this one's 2.5. This one, the 9 rounds the 5 up because it's 5 or above, so this becomes 2.6. And this one, the 5 rounds the 6 up, so it becomes 2.7. So which one is 2.6? This guy right here. And then the last one, when rounded to the nearest 10th, which number will round to 81.9? The 10th is the first place after the decimal. So the 6 rounds up the 9, which turns it to a 10, which gives me an extra 1 here. So this gives me 2. So this becomes 82. So that's not the answer. This one here, I'm sorry, wrong place. This one here, the 9, the 2 does not round the 9 up, so this one just stays 81.9, which works, so that's one of the answers. Here, the 8 is in the 10th place, the 2 does not round it up, so this just is 81.8, which is not an answer. And here, I have the 8 here, the 1 does not round the 8 up, so it is still 81.8, so that is not an answer.